scariest stories are whispered, not told.
I took a night security job at an abandoned mall because I needed the money. That's really all there was to it. No tragic backstory. No lifelong fascination with creepy places. Just bills to pay and not enough ways to pay them. The mall had been shut down for years. I remember going there as a kid. There used to be this arcade on the second floor where I blew most of my allowance, and a food court with greasy pizza and a smoothie stand that always ran out of strawberries by noon. But sometime around 2016, the bigger chain stores started pulling out, and by 2019, the place was officially shuttered. It sat rotting for years until the property management company decided to revamp it into mixed-use condos or some overpriced boutique nonsense. Before any of that could happen, they needed round-the-clock surveillance. Vandals had broken in a few times. Rumors swirled around town that the place was haunted. It had become a challenge on TikTok to sneak inside and film some scary footage. That's where I came in. Third shift, 11 o'clock p.m. to 7 o'clock a.m., I'd sit in a small security room next to what used to be the staff lounge and monitor feeds from 23 cameras stationed throughout the building. I wasn't supposed to patrol. I wasn't even supposed to leave the office. Just watch, log activity, and call the property manager if anything serious happened. The first few nights were uneventful, quiet, boring even. I brought a thermos of gas station coffee and sat back with my phone, occasionally glancing at the monitors out of a sense of obligation more than fear. There were always strange noises, of course. Creaks from the walls, old pipes moaning, but nothing that felt sinister until the fourth night. It was 3:33 a.m. when it happened. I know that because the timestamp is burned into my brain. At exactly 3:33, camera 14, the one facing the old play area in the center atrium, flickered to static. Just for a second, then it came back on. And something had changed. There was a figure standing in the middle of the playpen. I sat up straight and leaned in. The camera quality wasn't great, but I could tell it wasn't a child. It was tall, slender, dressed in what looked like an old security uniform, the kind with faded navy blue sleeves and a badge that had long since lost its shine. He, I assume it was a he, was standing perfectly still, facing away from the camera, head slightly tilted, just watching the empty space in front of him. No movement, no sound. I stared for a solid minute before grabbing the walkie and asking, dispatch, this is Unit 3. Got movement on camera 14. Possible trespasser. No answer. The walkies weren't even connected to dispatch anymore. I don't know why I instinctively grabbed it. Probably panic. The only person I could call was Mark, the site manager, and it was too late to wake him unless I had solid proof. I switched to camera 15, which showed the same area from a different angle. Nothing. Just the empty playpen. I flipped back to camera 14. Gone. The figure had vanished. Now, I know what you're thinking. Maybe it was a glitch, some weird recording loop, or even a leftover from an old feed. That's what I told myself, too. But I was rattled. I rewound the footage, frame by frame. Nothing before 3:33. Nothing after. The man appeared and disappeared within seconds. No entry, no exit. I didn't sleep after that shift. I went home at 7 a.m. and sat on my couch, staring at my phone, thinking about whether to quit. But I didn't, because the money was good, and because I needed answers. I returned the next night with 2 energy drinks, a flashlight, even though I wasn't supposed to leave the room, and a weird tension sitting in my chest like a lead ball. I couldn't stop thinking about the man from the playpen. I had convinced myself it was a camera glitch, but I still found myself watching camera 14 more than the others. Every hour I'd glance at the feed and wait. Nothing. Just the motionless plastic slides, empty mall plants, and the quiet hum of fluorescent light. Until 3:33 a.m. Once again, the feed flickered. Just a quick burst of static. Then back to normal, or almost normal. This time the man wasn't in the center. He was standing closer to the camera, still turned away, head tilted just a little farther to the side, almost like he was listening. I flipped to camera 15. Nothing. Back to 14. He was still there, but now his head was slightly turned, showing the corner of his face. I could make out a jawline, part of a cheek. It was pale, too pale. And then he moved. His head turned all the way, facing directly into the camera. No face, just smooth, blank skin, like someone had erased him. The lights in the control room flickered. My laptop crashed. All 23 camera feeds went to static. I froze, hand hovering over my phone. I couldn't bring myself to call Mark. What would I even say? Hey, the ghost man on camera 14 took off his face. Eventually, the screens came back. The figure was gone, and something else had changed. Camera 4, which faced the inside of the staff lounge, was slightly off angle. It was tilted to the side, as if someone had touched it. No one was supposed to be in that area. Certainly not anyone strong enough to move the mounted hardware. Then, the door behind me creaked. Not a slam, not a bang, just the sound of an old, heavy door easing shut. I turned. Nothing. The door was closed. The one I had left cracked open for airflow. I walked over, pulled it back, and peered into the hall. Empty. Just the long, stale corridor leading to the emergency stairwell and freight elevator. I stood there a long time, long enough to question every decision that led me there. I should have left then, but I didn't. The next day, I drove to the mall during daylight hours and walked the perimeter. I wanted to see the place in sunlight, maybe put some logic into my rattled brain. A broken door, a trick of the light, something. From the outside, it was even more depressing. Cracked pavement, boarded up glass. Overgrown weeds creeping up the exterior walls. And then I saw it. On one of the second-floor windows, the ones that overlooked the atrium where camera 14 pointed, there was a smear. Not a smudge, not dust. A handprint. Long fingers, too long, pressed against the glass from the inside. I tried to get a closer look, but the area was fenced off. I snapped a photo on my phone. The image was blurry, shaky. Later, when I opened the photo on my laptop, it was gone. Just a photo of glass and shadows. No handprint, no proof. People always assume working nights in a hospital must be stressful. It isn't, not really. It's quiet. You walk the same halls, hear the same faint hum of machines, catch the occasional glimpse of a nurse on her way home early, or a patient who's wandered into the wrong place. Most nights, nothing happens. And if you're lucky, nothing happens. That's what I thought when I took the job at St. Emery's. The posting was vague. Overnight security, quiet facility, competitive pay, no experience required. The rate was more than fair, which struck me as odd. Usually when something pays too well, there's a catch. But I didn't care. I needed the money. St. Emery's wasn't far from where I lived. Tucked away on a side street I must have passed 100 times and never noticed. A squat, gray brick hospital with faded blue letters over the doors and bushes so overgrown they hid most of the windows. Inside, it smelled faintly of bleach and something older, the way attics smell when they've been shut up too long. My first night, I was met by a woman named Claire. She was stiff, polite. Her gray suit was crisp, but her eyes were tired, like she'd long ago stopped caring about appearances. She handed me a laminated security badge and led me through the first floor without much small talk. The security office was little more than a closet. A desk, 2 monitors, a chair that creaked under me when I sat. "You stay here," she said. "Walk the halls at midnight and again at 3. Don't bother the patients. Don't go into restricted areas." I nodded, already half distracted by the hum of the monitors. Claire paused at the door, glancing back at me over her shoulder. "And don't," she said slowly, "don't take the elevator to the basement." Her voice dropped just slightly on the word. I frowned. "What's in the basement?" She gave me a tight smile. "Nothing you need to worry about." Then she left. That first night passed without incident. I walked the halls just as she'd said. The same pale green walls and scuffed linoleum. The same quiet hum of lights overhead. Occasionally I'd see a nurse, their shoes squeaking on the floor. But most of the time it was just me. The cameras showed nothing unusual. There were 16 feeds in total. 15 of them cycled between the halls, the lobby, the side exits. The 16th was nothing but black. At first I thought it was broken, but when I leaned closer I saw the faint label in the corner of the screen. "On, basement." I asked a nurse about it the next night. "Oh, that's just an old camera," she said. "Doesn't work anymore. Forget about it." But her eyes darted away when she said it. I tried to forget about it. I tried not to think about Claire's warning, or the way the elevator doors sometimes opened on their own when I walked past. But on my 3rd night, just after 3 in the morning, the black square on the monitor flickered. It was only for a second, but I saw it. A hallway, and at the very end, a figure. Tall, motionless, too far away to see clearly. Then the screen went black again. I sat there for a long time, staring at the monitor, waiting for it to flicker again. It didn't. But I couldn't shake the image. I couldn't shake the way the figure seemed to be looking at the camera. Or maybe at me. When I finally went home at dawn, the world outside felt colder somehow. The streets were quiet. The air was sharp and thin. And in the back of my mind, something whispered. A single word. Closer. I didn't sleep much that day. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, thinking about that dark square on the monitor, about what I saw. I told myself it was nothing, just a glitch, maybe some old footage still in the system. But when I got to work that night, I couldn't help but glance at camera 16 the second I sat down. Still black. I forced myself to focus on my rounds. Midnight passed without incident. The halls were as empty as ever. The same soft whispers of oxygen through tubes. The same faint noise of patients behind closed doors. When I got back to the office, the monitors looked normal. Except camera 16 wasn't black anymore. It showed the same hallway as before, dim, damp, lined with concrete and pipes. This time, the figure was closer, not at the end of the hall anymore, maybe halfway down, still standing perfectly still. Still staring. I leaned forward, my breath fogging the screen. It didn't move, but something about it felt wrong, like it was waiting. At 3 a.m., I walked the halls again. This time, when I passed the elevator, the door slid open before I pressed the button. The panel inside glowed faintly. And there it was, below the 1, below the G, an unmarked button labeled simply B. I didn't press it, not yet. But when I got back to the office, the monitor flickered again. Now the figure was almost at the camera, close enough I could see it clearly. It was tall, too tall, Its clothes were dark, shredded. Its face, if it had one, was just a blur of darkness. And in my head, faintly, I heard it again. Closer. I tried to tell Claire about it the next morning, but she just shook her head. "You're imagining things," she said curtly. "Everyone does at first." I opened my mouth to argue, but she cut me off. "Don't take the elevator to the basement, and don't look at camera 16 anymore." Then she walked away, but the whisper in my head was deafening. Closer. I stepped out into the hallway. The air was damp, metallic. The lights overhead buzzed faintly, some of them flickering. I walked slowly, my footsteps echoing too loudly. The figure stayed where it was, watching me. With each step I took, the whisper in my head grew sharper. Closer. You're already here. I stopped a few feet away. It was taller than I thought. Its head was cocked slightly, as if listening. Its fingers twitched faintly at its sides. I opened my mouth to speak, but no sound came out. The whisper spoke for me. "You've always been here." The lights above me popped and went out. Darkness swallowed the hallway, and then I felt it. A hand, ice cold, impossibly thin, resting on my shoulder. I spun around, but nothing was there. The figure was gone. The hallway was empty, but the whisper lingered, closer. I don't remember running back to the elevator. When the doors slid open, I caught one last glimpse of the hallway. The figure stood there again, light at the edge of the doors, its hand raised as if to stop me. Its fingers brushed the seam as the doors closed. Back in the office, I collapsed into the chair, shaking. Camera 16 was black again, but there was something on the desk, a Polaroid of me standing in that hallway. The figure behind me, its hand resting on my shoulder. I stared at the photo for a long time, and then the whisper came back, closer. I quit the next morning, packed up my locker, and walked out without saying a word to anyone. Claire didn't stop me, didn't even look at me as I passed her in the hall. But that night, I couldn't sleep. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, waiting for something. At 3:17 a.m., my phone buzzed. No name, no number, just a message. Closer. Every night since, the messages come, always at 3:17, always the same word. Sometimes they're on my phone, sometimes written on the bathroom mirror when I wake, sometimes scrawled in the condensation on the window. I moved, changed my number, got rid of every phone and every mirror in my house. It didn't help. Last night when I came home, the door to my apartment was already open, and inside on the wall above my bed, written in letters tall enough to scrape the ceiling, was just one word: closer. And in the corner of the room, in the shadows, something was standing, watching, waiting. I don't know how much longer I can keep running, but I can still hear it, even now, whispering in my head, closer, closer, closer.